And anyway, so in this scenario, right, again, I'm the tenant, and my landlord says, I'm going to increase the rent by 15%. And I say, no, I can't afford to pay that, and you can't do that to me. And the landlord says, okay, maybe 13%. And I'm like, no, I can't afford to pay that. I can afford to pay you, I can afford to pay a 6% increase, maybe. And then the landlord says, well, okay, I'm not going to renew your lease, and now you're in violation of, or now, I can evict you. So the landlord takes me to court, and then the landlord would be obligated to demonstrate that that rent increase is justified. And that is the only way that they would be able to either evict the tenant or implement that rent increase. And so that's the way in which good cause you could say it regulates rents, but it is not rent regulation in the sense that people think of it, I guess, or like the current law. One more thing, I know somebody asked earlier about what happens, and I actually just wanted to clarify their question, if they don't mind, and if they're still here and want to ask it. Someone had asked what happens when the rate of inflation is when it's more than 3%. Oh, sure. Well, so what the bill actually says is that the metric for determining an unreasonable rent increase is either 3% or 150% of the rate of inflation, whichever is higher. So right now, if good cause were law, it would be more like 9 to 10% would be the threshold for an unreasonable rent increase. And that's actually pretty high. It might not sound very high as a percentage, but that's a pretty high rent increase. And for a lot of people, probably for many of us in this room, if our rent were increased by 10% of what it is right now, we wouldn't be able to afford our rent anymore. Because, even when your rent goes up, your, and your other expenses go up, your income is not necessarily increasing, right? Most people don't get a raise every time they have to renew their rent. And so it becomes harder and harder and even impossible for people to afford their rent.
So we've got a slightly off-topic question, but I think it's pertinent anyway. What state laws can we pass that enable building more homes alongside these vital tenant protections?
So, could you repeat the question? Sorry.
What state laws can we pass that enable building more homes alongside these vital tenant protections?
Well, I don't think we really need new laws to build more homes. There is some conversations around how to make sure that we have new homes that actually have rents that are manageable for people, because I think all of us have witnessed in this district that most of the new homes that have been built have been beyond what the people who are living here can already afford. So one thing that we are working on right now, proposing, is a social housing what's the word? Social entity. Yes, there we go. A social housing entity that the state would manage, that would create a way for us to actually look at what a worker in our community can afford and make sure that the housing that is created is housing that can actually be useful to the population who are here. Because what ends up happening is people are more motivated to build very expensive luxury housing, and then we see that many of these luxury buildings are not actually occupied. They're being purchased and then used as kind of like a bank account or an investment. So we are really passionate, and we are working very hard on drafting a bill that would create a social housing entity in New York State for the first time in recent history. So that is like the piece that we're looking at, to create more housing that would be affordable. And I'm really excited about it. It's a very complex topic, but we have a bill draft that's like 50 pages right now, and this would be a game changer for our state. And it's very much modeled on what we've seen in other countries and other cities where they have a flexibility to each person's life because they're able to not be focused on their rent, right? They know that they're going to be able to pay their rent because it is something that is affordable to their occupation. And also with social housing, we build housing for every kind of income. So it would be beyond what we see in what the federal government currently has in New York that has, suffered a lot from underfunding, which is the NYCHA buildings. This would be beyond that population. This would be for everyone. So that's something I'm really excited about, and I'm looking forward to someday soon putting that in and premiering it and teaching you all about that.